Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Coin Drop Podcast. This is episode number 51, and we're a little early today because those of you who are joining us can see that we have a special guest with us. So, hi, welcome for joining us. Tim, I think you've got some, don't think too hard about on what I said. I flubbed it. It's fine. Why don't you introduce our guest, Tim?
Okay, so everybody, this is V, otherwise known on Twitter and her streams as Mom's Den or Mom. I don't know if people refer to you that, but in any case, she has been streaming for, let's say, roughly 7 years. Don't worry about the details. She's actually from Serbia. She's a parent like myself and Russ. She's an RPG gamer almost exclusively. Sticks to games like Final Fantasy and Persona and those types of games. Although she does play things like Hearthstone, she's got a decent following, but we decided to have her on, and she graciously accepted as our first ever guest. So V, welcome to the podcast, the Coin Drop Podcast.
Yes.
Hi, and thank you so much for having me. It is a great honor, and I do have to apologize to you and to your audience if I'm a little tired. I actually am coming from a stream of my own, so if I do lose a train of thoughts a little bit today, I'm sorry, but I'm very happy to be here, and hi everyone.
Well, I can tell you right away that it's not going to be any worse than me last week. I was sick, so I guarantee you it's okay.
Yeah, I think I literally named last week's episode "The Death of Tim."
The Death of Tim.
So, so you're fine. We lose our track. We sidetrack all the time. So you'll fit in just fine, B.
All right.
Yeah. So you just did a 12-hour stream, right? Like that's a pretty long one.
That's a long time. Yeah.
I did, and normally I would come to you on a podcast from like 3 to 5 to a maximum of 7 hours that I do during the weekends, but today was actually a very special day. It was a streamversary, and we did things that are kind of out of the normal range of stuff that we normally do, and I'm exhausted, but it's actually a good time to have me on the podcast, I guess, because honestly my heart is so full right now. I had one of probably the best streams with my community ever, and it is just nice as a content creator to have this opportunity to spend time with the community celebrating something. It's so nice to see people from the world of content who may not necessarily be the people who you hear about every day celebrating something, and I celebrate other people's wins as much as I celebrate my own, and it's just so nice when it's your turn to celebrate something, and then everyone who you normally celebrate, they come to do the same thing with you. It's just such a wonderful community thing. Yeah. So I'm very tired but also very happy, so very excited to be here to talk about things as well.
Well, you gave us a great segue there for celebrating. You're joining us on the eve of our 52nd episode. So 52 weeks in a year, and our next episode will be, a full year's worth of episodes. And our actual 1-year anniversary was earlier last month, actually, about this time last month. And in that lieu, we've actually been doing a giveaway that we've had people signing up for. So today we're going to be selecting a winner of that giveaway. Everybody's name on here is their Discord handle from our Discord. So you guys have been following us and joined the Discord and watching us, and I would hope promoting us for about a year, if give or take. And we wanted to do this. This was Tim's idea, his baby. I just put it together. And we wanted to do this as a way to thank our audience for sticking with us and helping us grow. So today we're doing the drawing for our indiscernible months of Humble Bundle giveaway. Tim, did you finally decide on how many months of Humble Bundle you were? Was it 1? Is it going to be 2? Is it 12? What are you doing?
Why do you have to ask me the hard questions, man? So this is what I'm going to do. Honestly, I've thought a little bit about it, not terribly a lot, simply because, I hate to say this, we haven't had the most amount of engagement on this, and so I'm actually sort of having to choose who's going to be in on this. For now, I'm actually
already here. It's on the stream right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So for now, I'm only going to do the single month, but I will go ahead and extend an additional giveaway for, we'll say, the next 2 months. If you come into our podcast, if you see this, if anyone in your community is interested, come in and we'll do another one. That's what I'm going to go ahead and offer to those that are potentially new. I'm on. It says I'm muted. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. No, hang on. I messed up. Give me 1 second. I can fix this.
Okay.
I forgot to. Fixing it. Just bear with me. All right. You should be there now.
Okay, so let me try that again.
Roll that again.
So,
technical difficulties.
Well, on the positive side, at least somebody noticed and told us early, right? And better than 8 minutes. What was this? 2-3 episodes ago?
Let's not talk about it.
Sorry, I have to give you a hard time. In any case, I've decided to give 1 month away today. And for anyone that might be new to the podcast via V's community or whatever, for any reason, if you come to the Discord, if you tell us you're interested and you want to give us or if you want to have a run at potentially earning a free month of Humble Bundle, which is a PC game giveaway thing, Humble Bundle choice, by the way, come to the Discord, tell us you want to be interested, or you're interested in potentially winning this, and follow us somewhere, Twitch, YouTube, whatever, it doesn't matter, and show us that. That's literally all you got to do. And we're going to then potentially win a copy. So for now, I'm going to do one today, and then I will do at least one more later. I'm going to give you a month from today, so May 27th. If you come and let us know between now and May 27th, you have a chance of winning again.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
In addition to that, our patrons are also on this list. If you decide to join us on Patreon, you will get an additional entry into this. So you get a little bit more weight to your spend, so to speak. So without further ado, Tim, should I go ahead and spin the wheel, see who our winner is for this drawing?
If you've got it set up, do so.
All right, spinning it now. And slowing down, wheels coming to a stop.
I was wondering what that was. I didn't realize that was your wheel.
Yep.
I did not realize that. Okay, perfect.
Ayoda. Son of Ayoda.
Okay.
On our Discord.
Look at that.
We will be sending you a message letting you know, and you will be in touch with either Tim or I. Probably Tim.
I know who this is, so I'll make sure.
I figured you did. If not, it's in the Discord. You just got to click through until you find them. I didn't want to dox anybody on our Discord. We originally had a rule that we asked people to change their name to their real name and then their last initial. Some people didn't like that, so we got rid of it. I didn't want to dox anybody anyway, so I didn't put those on here. I felt it was better to have personal conversation, but that's a different thing. That's no longer a rule. You can join in the Discord, have whatever handle you want, but there you go. Son of Ayoda, you have one month of Humble Bundle choice. So if you
I
don't
will
have
get
a
with
PC,
you.
maybe we can work something else out. But
He's got a PC. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Yeah.
He's good.
There you go. That is the end of that. V, I hope that was as exciting for you as it was for me.
It actually is, and I'll let my community know because everyone loves giveaways. So why not?
Okay.
Yes.
Why not?
Yeah. So
Why not?
just remind them if you need. I can read out the necessary entry requirements. For you. But yeah, literally all they have to do is just let us know that they're interested, and bam, it's that easy.
So I suppose we'll jump into kind of our first big news topic for tonight. It's really probably our only big news topic for tonight. It's going to be a bit more conversational tonight, but there is a game that V is actually very interested in. It's coming out very soon, if I'm not mistaken. Got to be honest, this isn't my realm of gaming, but Metaphor JRPG is coming sometime soon.
October 11th.
There you go. So why don't you tell us about it? Because this is definitely your realm of gaming, right? So this is your vibe.
This game is something that I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't even know about, and the moment I started getting myself into the Persona and Shin Megami Tensei rabbit hole, my community has been very good at respecting how overwhelmed I get with new content. So I have some wonderful community members who have been drip feeding me information over time as I was getting myself into all of these games, and have been very slowly, very subtly talking about different things. And Metaphor JRPG was actually one of the games that was mentioned. It's been talked about for a few months, and I didn't pay as much attention to it until I myself started playing Persona and and made plans to play through Shin Megami Tensei, especially Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, which is coming out in June. So we decided as a community to kind of follow up on these news and even watch the not the trailer but the presentation that Atlas has put together, and that was actually, I believe, almost 1 week ago. There was a full-on presentation of what Metaphor ReFantazio is actually going to look like. And can I just say that I'm so grateful for my community for even getting me into this, because I am looking at this game and I have been, and this game is pretty much everything that I've been wanting for out of a game, and it is just something that you can either really like or it's not going to be your thing at all. But I think that is the way things are with most JRPGs, for better or for worse, which is why we have such a niche but devoted community of people who just absolutely love this. And
so let me interrupt you just real quick. So I actually had this misconception at first. When the game was first announced, it was announced by Atlas, right? And they make Persona. So that's why you particularly are interested in this game. At first glance, this looks like a game that's just Persona with a different title, right? And it's really easy to have that misconception about this game, when in fact, if you've been watching the stream, which obviously doesn't work for those who watch us or who listen to us on Spotify or whatever else, if you look at gameplay of this game, it's an action game rather than a turn-based game like Persona is. But also there's a lot of other different things about the game, which I imagine V will go over here shortly. But the point in me interrupting is that this isn't just a Persona clone. It's not just Persona retitled something else. This is a different game. It looks like Persona, but it is not.
I gotta be honest, it kind of gives me like Dark Cloud vibes in some of the combat. It also kind of gives me some Star Ocean-y vibes to it too, which
I can see that.
I'm not usually big on JRPGs. I'm very selective on them. Final Fantasy's about as far as I go in most of them. There's been a couple here or there that I've really enjoyed, but this one actually
you like Dot Hack.
Like I said, that there's a couple here and there that I like.
Yes.
Dot Hack is one of them because it's fuck Sword Art Online. Dot Hack is a legend. I'll fight you. But this game looks pretty good. I like the Tales games too. Most of them, Tales of Assyria, Tales of Symphonia, fantastic games. This one looks pretty cool. Artistically, it doesn't look anything unique, but like by that I mean like it looks like a lot of the games in this genre, right? Like Grand Blue Fantasy, like it has that same style of anime 3-dimensional art to it, right? It looks unique in what else is on screen, like the setting and things of that. Like, I don't know, it looks kind of cool.
So not to get off topic, V, if you haven't played Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, it's something you should definitely consider. However, let's not get off topic and let's talk more about Metaphor.
Yeah.
I do have a few things to add, which is actually just a small correction regarding the actual genre of Metaphor ReFantazio. What's been said within the broadcast is that this game is actually a hybrid. So you can choose the playstyle of the combat.
That's
and
awesome.
It does start off as an action RPG that is very reminiscent of something like, let's say, Star Ocean 2 remake, if you've played through it.
Yeah.
Basically, it has a vibe that's very similar to that. But from that combat, it turns into turn-based combat. It's actually very interesting. It is one of the most unique combat styles that I've seen that turns one combat style into another, which is very, very tempting for me as a big fan of the turn-based RPGs. Yes, you can choose to, from what I've seen and understand, you can choose to attack some of the NPCs and whatnot with the action system. But if you want to dive deeper into the combat, from what I understand, you can enter the game, and the game between them is actually turn-based. I could be wrong, because there's a lot of things that we haven't seen, but from the first preview of the combat itself, it is basically oriented as a new spin-off of both the JRPG and ARPG genre and tries to merge them together. So I think that's definitely going to be interesting.
It almost sounds like a play off of the original Dragon Age series, where it gave you the option of playing turn-based to a degree or live action.
Mass Effect did the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, the original Mass Effect did that too, that's correct. but
Exactly.
this is more in a Japanese JRPG form. So that's actually kind of cool. Actually, it's really interesting. So basically, it pulls in both fan bases effectively, so they can choose how they want to play the game and they can play it their way. Which is, I think you're entirely correct here, V. That's pretty unique for more of the Japanese realm of gaming, and that's really cool, actually.
We've seen it before. Go ahead.
Yeah, kind of orienting, themselves a little bit more towards the West, because that kind of thing is more popular in the West
these days,
than it is in Japan. What I think that is going to make it or break it for a lot of JRPG fans, especially Persona fans, now that you mentioned Persona, is that the setting is completely different. And I think that a lot of people are going to welcome the game because the game diverges from that high school setting. And I think a lot of people have been looking forward to not feeling like creeps. And going,
Yes. Because every time I see a Persona game, I'm like, I'm not. Yeah, no, can't do this. This is nope.
Yep. No, that's.
I'm gonna end up on a list playing this game.
Right. And especially making content for it. And I have to just make a disclaimer for your audience. My content, even though obviously it is safe for work, I do have to put in a lot of filter tags because we talk about some things very openly, and I do have to put my stream as a plus 18 experience.
Don't worry, we do the same.
Away from certain topics and whatnot. I've been warned by my community recently that I should have that thing on Twitch, so I'm actually now rocking it because I have to.
Yeah, the way we look at it is we're adults. There's no reason to hide or shy away from certain topics just because they're quote taboo or whatever. That's ridiculous. That's how you get ignorant people. On the positive side, or not the positive side, I guess to expound on what you were saying is that this game is getting away from the high school setting, and you look at pretty much all of media and movies, video games, you name it. Effectively, they're growing up along with us. Because we've been playing games. I don't know how old you are, V, and I'm not worried about asking, but we've grown up with video games since they were in their infancy, and we're obviously not anymore. I'm closer to 40 than I am 30.
Stop reminding me, dude. I'm not far behind you. Stop it. That's not okay.
Hey, I'm getting there.
And so, I mean, Toy Story did it, and Monsters Inc. did it, and so on and so forth. And so, video games are starting to grow up along with us. I mean, heck, look at Kratos. He's a father now. He was a father to begin with, but we didn't see that. Now he's a father, and we're actually watching him raise his child, and we're doing the same thing. And so, it's cool to see video games move away from those, tropes, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. When it comes to Persona itself, I do believe that Persona is never really going to move away from the high school setting, not even into university setting, just because it's a tried and true story that works. But when it comes to the new game, it is something new, and it's going to give people somewhat of a relief. However, Persona, a game. I'm sorry. Is my
your camera just went green.
Nope. Oh, we can see you.
You can see me.
I can't.
Oh, you know what? On the Twitch, she actually did go black.
Yeah. You'll
she went green, actually.
No, you're fine. You're fine. With technical difficulties is just part of the podcast.
Yeah, that's just what we do.
That's just what we do.
I'm sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
No, I will make sure
your audio will still be available, so don't worry about it.
Okay. Anyway, while I'm working on that, what I wanted to say is that when it comes to this game, unfortunately or fortunately, a lot of shippers, I guess, are going to be very unhappy with this game, as Atlas did announce that this game is not going to have romance options at all. So a lot of people are unhappy about it. I personally, even though that's fun content and very fun conversations to have with the community, I support this decision as it is going to diverge the focus of basically those shipping wars and whatnot. And I think that's very, very important. I think that one of the recent games and titles that kind of got tainted by that is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And I don't want to get off topic too much, but the way the game was presented, it put a lot of pressure on players to.
I think she's having
there we go.
Latency issues. Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me? See me?
Yeah, it sounds like your mic changed though.
Yeah.
No, I'm so sorry. I will
You're
make
okay.
sure to. No,
Like we said.
I was basically resetting all of my devices. So
Gotcha.
there we go.
Gotcha.
To
There we
make
go.
sure that.
Yeah,
there
you're
we
back
go.
to normal.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to say that is one of the games where I think even though they have a community that they know they were making content for when it comes to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and that a lot of people will expect that, I still think that we do need a JRPG game where that will not be its main focus. And I honestly salute this decision.
Yeah, it allows the community not to worry about the effectively not mundane. That's the inappropriate term, but the not important. Simply because the actual overarching storyline is the more important topic, not who you're have the hots for. Which, don't get me wrong, that is always a fun topic. And in your RPGs, especially your Persona games, that is always an important thing. I mean, heck, actually, you mentioned how you don't expect Persona to move into the university, which for the American audiences is college. I would actually really like to see a Persona in the college setting. I think that'd be really interesting, but that's digressing. When it comes to your romance options, if you remove that option, it does point people's attention towards that is more important, effectively.
Yeah, I think so. It definitely gives more focus to the gameplay in comparison to romances, which are important for Persona, but in my opinion, I think we have enough of it in Persona, and people who like that should stick to, Persona.
Yeah, just stick with
That is the
Persona,
only reason
yeah.
for playing the game. Yes.
Yeah.
In terms of going back to kind of the combat and choose how you play, it's really cool to see this game doing that, because I mean, Tim, you and I, we talked about this with Ghost Recon Wildlands, right? Like that was one of the first big games that came out that you could turn it from like an action RPG shooter to just a straight up third person tactical shooter and completely get rid of DPS and stats, and it had so much versatility in its customization on how you want to play that you could even play it completely separate than the people playing the game with you in that session. Because I remember you and I played it and you had all your RPG stuff and I was just bog standard, like I want to shoot and kill, so it's cool to see. Yeah, it's cool to see more of that coming in gaming and allowing it being capable and allowing systems that give player more agency on how they play the game. So that's very
So, and just let me throw something in here, because I noticed in our little video of Metaphor, this game isn't exclusive to Xbox. If you're on PlayStation or PC, you're getting the game too. So don't worry about the video that was chosen.
Yeah,
it is not an Xbox exclusive. Yeah, it actually, interestingly enough, it was originally announced at an Xbox conference, and it looked like an exclusive for a minute, but it's not. So don't worry about it if you don't play on Xbox.
Also, there's no such thing as an Xbox exclusive anymore.
This is true. This is true.
So
yeah, this is true.
I would just like to add that is just something that I wish more developers or publishers would not learn from, but would be able to do, because we know that some things regarding exclusivity, especially when it comes to, for example, Square Enix, is not their decision, but something that they must do, because PlayStation at the end of the day gave Square Enix a chance when nobody else did, and that is one of the reasons why a lot of games are exclusive. I just wish personally that it was possible. From the content creator viewpoint, it is very, very difficult to create content for a game that is not exclusive, because unless you are a streamer with a devoted audience of a few thousand people, the majority of people who will avoid the game due to spoilers and waiting for the game to come to, I don't know, PC or any other platform is not going to make much of a difference for you. But then if you have growing communities or communities of people where you're trying to maintain these relationships with people on a daily basis, pretty much, it is very difficult to commit to a new RPG title of 50 to 60 hours that takes maybe a week, maybe 2, maybe 3 weeks to play, and completely alienate yourself from the community who is simply not wanting to see the game because they can't play it. I personally am a great staller when it comes to my games. I do enjoy not rushing through my games simply because I know that people will want to press alongside, and they will want to watch it. So I always avoid doing a lot of content on day one, which sounds counterintuitive, but it's actually the right choice for any content creator nowadays who is trying to grow, and I think that's a good decision.
So I want to ask you, you said something that I don't necessarily disagree with, but I've always been more entrepreneurially, I don't know how to say that word, minded. Meaning I look towards the business side of things. It's what I've always looked towards. And you stated that it was really up to Sony on if the game becomes available, because they're the ones effectively that gave Square Enix the choice, or the chance rather, right? And so ultimately it actually isn't up to Sony. It's that because of Sony, the choice was there. And therefore, Square Enix has to make the choice, do they want to make the game at all? Or do they want to take the financial risk of making the game without Sony's money and help and all that other stuff? Yeah. Do they want to make the choice, which in Square Enix's choice, or in Square Enix's case, they can make that choice. There's a lot of developers, like, let's say as a perfect example, Stellar Blade. They didn't have the choice to go, do we want to be multi-platform, or do we want to take Sony's money and make their game exclusively for them? Square Enix did. Atlas would as well, and so on and so forth. But there are cases where it becomes a choice. Although you specifically mentioned Square Enix in this case, and so I'm gonna sort of hone in on that. I personally am of the mind that I prefer exclusives, simply for the fact that it allows the developer to focus on one piece of hardware at a time, and therefore they can actually worry about their artistic vision rather than splitting their resources between multiple consoles, right? And so they have to make sure that their game works on multiple platforms, and they have to work on making sure that their game actually appeals to said platform or player base on said platform. And you did give me a different aspect of thinking when you were explaining about this, when it came to, you know, worrying about your audience, because as a content creator, and making sure that you don't, you know, say rush through something, or making sure that they're actually interested in what you're playing, and so on and so forth. And so I'm honestly thinking about this as I'm talking about it, which is sort of just the way my mind works. When it comes to that, since you specifically stick more towards the RPG genre, even though you do branch out here and there, sticking more to the RPG genre, if I'm not mistaken, you're more of a PC player, correct?
That's actually a very tricky question. I do broadcast my games through my PC, actually still
OBS,
my laptop.
I would presume.
However, I play as many games as I possibly can on PlayStation, and I simply broadcast them through PlayStation Remote, because that is the way to not burn my current hardware.
Yeah.
As I'm still in the process of making everything happen when it comes to that. So I try to avoid playing the games directly on PC.
Okay.
For that
makes
reason.
sense. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. I'm sort of the same way as well. Is I prefer my streaming on my PC, but I also play mostly on my PlayStation, and so I stream from my PlayStation, but I want to get the hardware to avoid streaming from the PlayStation itself and use my PC. But anyways,
you're capture card.
Well, she's closer to that than I am. She's got a bigger audience base than I do. So
For sure.
Either way.
Oh, I don't have a capture card.
You said you don't?
No, I just basically
she uses
connect
remote
through.
play.
Yeah,
I use remote
what I
play,
thought,
just an app. Yeah, and it doesn't overwhelm the software at all.
Yeah. Gotcha. Which is probably the smart way to do it in this case.
I haven't heard. Go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. Yours is probably more important.
I was just going to say, I hadn't, when you were giving your kind of view as a content creator on exclusivity, I'd never really considered that. Never really crossed my mind that point of view.
Exactly.
I'm a proponent for exclusives as well, for a different reason than Tim. My thing is exclusives are what sell consoles. Microsoft is no longer selling consoles because they have no exclusives. They haven't really had exclusives for a long time. If you've got a PC built within the last 10 years, you pretty much have an Xbox. Like you've got a more capable Xbox. So like exclusivity is what sells consoles. So to hear it from your point of view of like, you know, you're absolutely right, because you hit it on the head. When you started talking about Final Fantasy VII, I was like, am I going to have to take my headset off? Because I haven't played Rebirth yet. I'm waiting for it to come to PC. I've played the crap out of 7.
I never would.
I
don't come to podcast to give spoilers.
No, you're fine. I've been working very hard to avoid anything about that game. We did an episode a few back that was my really wild theory about where this franchise was going. That I thought was very fun. So,
Russ, let me interrupt you for a second.
Yep.
Just to give you the tiniest of updates about that episode in specific, we were kind of close to the truth, and I literally don't know anything. No.
Stop.
I have stopped. That's all I know. I'm just letting you know you're relatively close to the truth, because I don't know what it is, but I asked somebody, and I'm like, I'm curious. Anyways.
That makes me simultaneously very happy and very sad at the same time.
Exactly. So I'm in your same boat.
All right. So yeah, like, you know, it is one of those things. I haven't played Rebirth because I want it on PC. Unfortunately, I'm what you would call a PC master race guy. I like my frames per second. I like playing. Yeah, it's just. You know, that's fine. I own it. It's cool. I was for a long time. I was very set on getting like the PS5 Pro, but now I'm like, I don't see a reason to.
He's gonna buy it.
It's releasing.
He's also gonna buy me Ashes of Creation Deluxe. You know.
Also,
I guess the perspective, I think I'm in the minority, and my opinion isn't necessarily something that will affect that many people. Obviously, there's the financial side of you know, getting all these consoles and everything, but I don't think that the majority of people necessarily cares what content creators feel and think about
it's still,
the exclusivities.
No, but your opinion still carries weight. I mean,
yeah, it's still valid.
Does.
Yeah,
everybody's still got a valid opinion on it. So I mean,
we're important for promotions of games, obviously,
absolutely,
and it's something that gets people ultimately to play more games.
There's a reason why developers and publishers give people like you free games, because your opinion matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like when your viewership drops by over 70% when you're playing a new game, kind of like the way it happened to me in the first few days of Rebirth, where people just told me, I'm sorry, I'm just waiting for the full trilogy, or I'm waiting for the PC release after I've played through Intergrade. And also it's a second game of the actual franchise, so there's even less people who are going to play through it, because some people haven't even finished Remake yet. It was a very odd game to be streaming, and I moved away from it very quickly because of that reason. I personally, I guess my opinion is that everyone should have access to games in general, but I can see why that's not I guess why that doesn't work for everyone. And also when it comes to these games that have been ported everywhere, I so far have not played a game that was released globally everywhere at the same time that was particularly bad on a single platform. That could just be my genre. That could be the fact that turn-based games are just easier to make that way, and there's not a lot of potential for game-breaking bugs or graphics bugs or something, because let's face it, I play games that look retro or animated or something like that. Like I haven't had an experience with something like, let's say, Fallen Order or Survivor or something like that being ported on PlayStation 5. I did finish Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and I wanted to play Survivor, but I was that is one of the games that I was waiting for an update for on PlayStation 5, and I haven't gotten around to it yet.
That was a good choice, though.
Yes.
Survivor definitely needed to wait for future updates, and actually that's actually something that me and Russ talked about before the podcast started. Before you actually joined us, we were talking about how ultimately it's kind of better to just wait for games to be a few months, 6 months, a year old, so they can have them updates, so they can actually be nice and polished, because unfortunately video games released before they're polished for the most part these days.
Well, and again, especially if something's on,
sorry to interrupt you, Russ. Sorry to interrupt you, Russ. Well, you know, I hate to interrupt you here because I kind of want your opinion before I get her opinion. So how about I put it this way? I'm going to say what I want to say. Russ, right. I want you to respond with your opinion, and then V, I want you to respond to my question effectively. Is since she's a content creator, waiting for games to be a few months old becomes a problem, right? And so you can't necessarily wait for games to be months to a year old to play them, because then people aren't interested. They're worried about more of what's new. So keep that in your mind, V. Keep that in your mind, V, and then Russ, say what you were going to say. Sorry.
I think there's a sweet spot there, right? Yeah. So I think there's a really good sweet spot there, because so like if I was to stream right now, I wouldn't have anywhere near the following V does.
Exactly.
Not saying that I would at all.
Same for me.
But if I was going to get into streaming right now, especially with what we talked about last week, the game I would choose is from 2018. I would stream Kingdom Come Deliverance, because the second game has just been announced. So the game's in people's minds again, and it's another old game I never got into, but like it's another old game that would be a good time to go play, I would think, but I don't know.
Quick frame of reference on what you just said is actually there was a study that was recently just done that more people are interested in playing games that are actually 6 years old or older, therefore Kingdom Come Deliverance, 6 years old or older, because those are just more what people are interested in currently, because they don't have to worry about all the problems and such.
Yeah, and I think that's there's a sweet spot there. But yes, I think, and V, you can definitely share your thoughts on it too. I think there's a sweet spot there. But yeah, as a content creator, you probably almost kind of feel like you have to be in a sprint from one game to the next to keep your audience relevant. But at the same time, I imagine, V, you've built up a pretty good audience that is more there for you rather than just the game that you're playing. Like it's a little bit of a symbiosis there, I would imagine.
Yeah, so give us your thoughts.
I have a very, very particular opinion when it comes to this, as I've basically had to move myself from playing a single game like Hearthstone or like Final Fantasy XIV and figure out how variety streaming works in general. And I have to say that no matter how much people like you, that they're always going to put their experience first, which is totally fine. And I think that there are two groups of streamers. When we talk about streaming variety games, I think that it is not, fair to compare someone who has an established audience of, let's say, a few thousand viewers on a daily basis, and someone who is anywhere from, 1 viewer to 50 to 100 or something like that. Because people who can afford to lose numbers due to games being just released are the ones who should be streaming the game releases on day one. I actually heavily agree with Russ, and this is the only way, in my opinion, and this can be a hot take, I don't care, this is the way to build a variety channel. You do not stream new games. I've made this mistake plenty of times, and I do not have a habit of streaming the games that have only just come out. Any game that I have streamed in the past, I want to say 2 or 3 years or so, apart from
Separate
Final
Persona
Fantasy
3,
14,
right?
New expansion, and Persona 3 is an odd example.
It's an exception to the rule. I'm giving you a hard time.
Yes, it's an exception because the story is already familiar. I have raised my variety channel based on streaming the games that people are already familiar with. Those are Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy VIII, other games and releases that have not been released right now. Persona 3 Reload is a happy circumstance because it's a new old game. All remakes and remasters that have the same story, not counting Final Fantasy VII Rebirth here for obvious reasons because of the, speculations and cliffhangers and everything. No spoilers, of course, but people don't count this to be an old game that they want to just watch. This is an experience for them to play through, and that's why that's an exception. Each game, I believe, that is streamed on a channel that is growing and not already super established needs to be something that's familiar with people. I'm just gonna give you a little bit of a spoiler on my content.
Sure.
Knowing what I know and building my channel the way I've built it, my plan for this year, I guess, is Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, which I have no problem streaming on day one because Shin Megami Tensei 5 is already familiar to people.
It's been available on Switch for years.
Yes, but there's a new part of the story that I'm obviously not going to play straight away.
Sure.
There's that. There's Dawn Trail. From Final Fantasy 14, but that is something that people still watch. Yes, on day one. Apart from that, there's Yakuza, there's Persona 5 Royale, which I am still haven't started playing, and right now I'm playing through Persona 4
behind the curve
Golden,
on that one, which is a phenomenal game, by the way, but that's okay.
Yeah, I actually already own it, but I was convinced by my community that I should play Persona 4 Golden first, so I'm playing that one, and I'm having the viewership that I have never had before.
Okay.
So across all of my streaming platforms, I'm able to hold 100 to 150 people comfortably.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
So sorry to interrupt you, but the reason I'm interrupting you here is because it sounds to me like you're playing the game you want to play, right? But you've also built up a community that sort of expects you to play not necessarily a certain way, but a certain game to a degree, of course. Ultimately, they're probably going to follow you because of who you are. They enjoy your content, but they convince you, or as you said, or they suggest in enough capacity where you effectively kind of change what you play for them, right? And so that is a give and take from the community to streamer. So I've never had a community like yours. I've never been quite into that aspect yet, and I hope to get there eventually one day. But then that's besides the point. How does that affect you as a player, going from I want to play this, I'm gonna play this, to you know what, these people want me to play this, and sure I was interested in it, but I'm gonna play it anyway for them, effectively. Like, how does that affect your I don't know, I guess mindset when it comes to choosing games?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I never play something that I don't want to play.
Of course.
I get a lot of requests at all times on like, you should play this, you should play that, you should play Tales games, you should play that. But if that's something that just not, isn't something that I'm currently interested in, I don't do it. I do, to a degree, feel not a little bit of a debt, but I guess for the sake of conversation, I'm going to call it a debt to my community who's been there when I started. I do take their opinion into consideration, but ultimately I solve my content plans through polls. So I'm huge on polls on Twitter, polls on Discord, and I will always have a choice of the games that I want to play, and I will listen to feedback through voting. I'm a highly democratic person when it comes to that, and all of my content ideas are solved through voting and through polls. They know that, and every time I finish a game, they know there's going to be a poll on the next one, and that's how I give them a choice, but it's ultimately what I want. So we're all happy.
You're hedging your bets. You're saying, I want to play this and this. You guys decide which one.
Exactly.
So tell me to shove off here if this is a bad idea, but this is just something that popped in my head, and I like being the devil's advocate in some cases. If you ever threw up a poll where there was like a freaking wild card out there, like let's say Barbie's, the Barbie's
Pony
horses
Shop.
or whatever. Yeah, whatever. Some random game that's totally outside your field. If you decided to throw a game in like that and it was voted top of the list, would you play it?
Well, that depends on the reason why I'm even putting it on the list to begin with. Like, I would never put something like, I don't know.
Obviously not like that. That's crazy.
Because I have like reflexes of a dead animal when it comes to like reaction time and everything. Like, there's just things that I just can't do. Like, I started playing Cyberpunk because I got talked into it. It's an amazing story and everything. I lasted 3 hours, and I just my fingers just do not have it in them to shoot, especially on a controller. It's unfortunately something that I still haven't gone through, so I do try, but I never stick with it if this is just something that
if it's not for you. Yes.
So
we weren't expecting to see you play Stellar Blade or Ninja Gaiden or something like that, probably.
Probably not, because I plan my content long term. Unless there's something that I get specifically sponsored for, like the other day, a little bit of a shout out to 505 Games. They have gifted me the Eoden Chronicle that I wasn't going to play straight away, but I am probably going to be starting that next week because I received it as a gift, and I think that's fair. Yeah. If it's not a situation like that, my content is very much planned, and it has to be, because those are very long games, and I have to know the releases in advance and have to somewhat plan out my life and see where my content is going to be going. So it's very hard to just throw in something small in there, because normally my games are very, very long, so I try to stick to the schedule as much as I possibly can.
I'm gonna have to watch your streams of those, because I've always been a big Suikoden fan, but Euden Chronicles is more of a Super Nintendo like game, and so I'm interested, to say the least.
Yeah, that's something that I definitely have plans for. It is a little tight right now, as I've just started Persona 4 Golden, and I'm enjoying the game, so I'm gonna have to make some compromises there as well. But it is, I think it comes down to literally making a schedule that your audience can stick with when it comes to JRPG content, because for some games people want to be there for like 2 or 3 weeks, and if you're playing a game that doesn't interest them, they know that they're just gonna be gone, and I think it's fair to let them know, as you can't expect people necessarily to just stick around and just be there for you. Which is why I try to make compromises in forms of card game streams and art streams where people can just come over and watch something without spoilers, and it's my time to catch up with everyone, regardless of what's happening on the screen.
Gotcha.
So balance.
So you break it up, not always just playing games, but like sort of chat time, fireside chat, effectively.
Well, my card game streams are my chat time. That's exclusively Friday for me. So on Fridays, they know there's not going to be any story. So someone who is looking to avoid all the spoilers, they will just sit there on a Friday, look at the pretty cards that they don't know, but they will talk in the chat. And I always do respond to the chat, but I'm much more responsive when it comes to Hearthstone streams. I just get to look at the chat all the time, and whatever happens on the screen is just secondary. That's my downtime.
So do you play Tetramaster in 14?
Sorry?
Tetramaster. That's what it's called, right? In 14, Final
The
Fantasy
card
14.
game,
Triple
Final Fantasy
Triad?
14.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Triad,
Triple
right?
Triad.
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
thinking,
yeah.
I'm thinking Final Fantasy 9, not Final Fantasy 11.
Yeah,
sorry.
No. No worries, no worries. I actually haven't played 9. I've played 8, and that's where the Triple Triad originally comes from, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I'm enjoying it in 14. And yes, funnily enough, I'm actually in the process currently of collecting all the cards from different zones in 14. So
Good luck.
those have turned into cards.
Yeah, it's a game in
games
itself.
as well.
I was
It is.
telling Tim he needs to do a 12-hour stream of him trying to get that one lookout point that he has to jump off a tower in the Japanese town and land
He's
on.
talking about Shinigami, where you have to
Yeah.
jump off the top of that tower on top of the light pole. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
He needs to do a 12-hour stream of him trying to get that.
Just that. I climbed it twice, which took forever as it was, but I climbed it twice, jumped down twice, missed twice, and I'm like, yep, I'm done.
I hate to break it to you, but there's an almost exact puzzle in Yulmore. If you've that's Shadowbringers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I'm offering.
Yeah, I'm there.
No,
You're good.
you're fine.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
behind. I'm still in Stormblood, but I haven't
Okay.
played in years, so you're
There's-
fine. I'm not
there's
too worried
this-
about it.
There's the same situation where you have to basically impale yourself like this. But can I give you a fun little tip on how to do it, if you
Yes.
don't mind? What
Yes.
you
He's like,
do
"Please,
is
God."
when you're jumping, you need to, if you're playing on PC, for example, you need to basically press the lookout emote just as you land into the circle. And even if you fall after that, you're still going to get the lookout.
Oh,
Nice.
that's a good
Hell
little
yeah.
trick. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Okay,
You
so
heard it
I'm
here
a-
first.
I'm a
Pro
completionist.
gamer move.
That's really smart. I'm a completionist. I played Assassin's Creed Origins. I don't know if you know how big the world is, but it's retarded how large that is. And I did everything. So in games like Final Fantasy 14, I want to do everything. Every time I see that lookout, I'm just angry at myself that I haven't done it yet. So
And try to bind your lookout emote button to
Yeah.
like a mouse or something.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
as soon
quick
as you're
click.
there, when you press it, it'll
it'll
read
still
as if
pop.
you've discovered a lookout.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. That's a pro tip used right there. I appreciate it.
Hell
I
yeah.
appreciate
It
it.
is. That's some
I'm gonna go-
4D chess.
Maybe I can do it in an hour instead of 12.
Good luck.
So the question I have, right, is like gaming and life balance. We're all parents. You're a parent.
Yep.
How do you find the balance to do this and still be,
Russ.
a mom? Like, what?
Russ and I are telepathically speaking here because I
Yes.
had the same
Uh-huh.
thought process.
Yeah, because like I mean, it's right. It's almost the same as a work-life balance, right? Because this is your job. You're doing this full time. It's whether you're enjoying it or not. Like this is what you're doing. It's your job. So how do you? I don't know. How do you do that? How do you balance that? Because for me, like when I punch out from work, I'm done. Like I wipe my hands, I'm done. I don't have any. There's no going back to work. I'm home. It's over. If you're, a full-time streamer, do you ever just be like, I should probably be streaming right now? You know what I mean?
Well, no, because I have a schedule that I strictly kind of commit to, because I don't want my community to feel the fear of missing out. Because some people
Sure.
are there for the story and they know
From
exactly
this
when the
problem.
story is going to continue. Yes, and I never stream because I want to, because I know that somebody is probably going to be upset about maybe having skipped that story. So I think that's something that works. A little bit of I guess IRL info is that while I was still married, I was not a full-time content creator, and it's actually easier for me now that I am a single mom, when I have basically kicked myself in the butt and realized that that is a job. So I get up in the morning and I know that there's work to be done, and I actually work 2 jobs, so I'm not a full-time content creator in that sort of sense. I also have a part-time job. But I have a routine and I respect my content creation enough to call it a job, and that's the whole reason why I'm able to do it. I think that there's an overwhelming amount of guilt in content creators to use the time that they should be working to work on content if they don't feel like they're not successful enough. Sometimes you just gotta take that leap and realize that what you're doing is work, and ignore the 1% of the people who will come into your chat and say, how dare you leave your child at daycare and sit at home and play games. There is a lot of people like that, especially with women. That like people normally will not come to a dad stream and say that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
But-
you're absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
But
Because you
with
got 2
mothers,
dads here.
that's No, with moms, that's a problem. And even when I was married, when my now ex-husband was looking after my child while I was streaming, especially while I was streaming long hours through Final Fantasy XIV, like Endwalker, Shadowbringers, and whatnot, people would say how he is basically a great father for looking after the kid, and how I'm a terrible mother for making content. And if the roles were reversed, nobody would even ask where the mother is and why the father isn't with the kids. There's a little bit of that.
It'd be effectively an expectation at that point.
Yeah.
Yes,
so yeah, double standard basically.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, it's a double standard that you just have to push aside if you are a mother, and just realize that that is your job and that makes you money. You have to be in touch with your bank accounts and realize that if something is making you money, that is your job.
Yeah,
and that's just how it
definitely.
works. So I do have my daily routine where I guess when I take my child to daycare, I do my part-time job. Fun little fact, I am a medical interpreter. No, I'm also a medical interpreter, so I'm on call with with doctors and patients who come from my country and the surrounding countries where I speak the same language, who don't understand each other. So I interpret over the phone for doctors and for their patients and help them understand each other. And that is just something that allows me to also do my work on the side when there is no work to be done. So it's a flexible job, and it's something that makes me feel useful, but at the same time leaves me pockets of space to work on editing, to work on my side content when there's no direct work to be done.
Sure.
But my family time is the most sacred time that I have. It starts at 4 p.m. and it ends at 8 or 9 p.m. And that is the time that I have with my son, and that's that. When he goes to bed, I start my stream, and I stream till maybe 12 p.m., 1 in the morning or so, and I go to bed. So it is 2 jobs, which I guess sounds like I'm working all the time, but I do respect some boundaries, and I have to, but at the same time, I have to work, and there's just no luxury for me not to, because my content pretty much feeds us, and there's no way to just to just take a day off. I have a little happy unhappy circumstance. I am divorced, and my child does get picked up on Fridays. He has a wonderful father who spends weekends with him, and that is a huge help, and that actually allows me to make up for shorter streams during the week, and actually allows me to punch in those hours, 8 hours, 9 hours on a Saturday, and just make content that on Sunday, which is my day off streaming, I can just cut up into videos and post for next week. That's my routine. Yeah. That's how I make it happen. It's working for us, and I have no complaints.
That's good. Yeah, so I only have a small question. When it comes to actual content creation and then editing that content, what's your rough split? Say 60-70 or 60-40 or, whatever the metrics may be.
I don't have a percentage. I am madly obsessed with to-do lists. So I live my life as if it's a giant quest line. And I basically have it divided, the whole process, to not just bore you with the details. On a daily basis, I do stream, but in the mornings I have a goal set to start working or finish working on one video that I'm creating, to write a blog post, since I also have a website where I repurpose my scripts that I use for video content, and I post them in forms of blog posts, and I try to make it my mission to publish one short form media per day. So that would be a Twitter short video, YouTube reel,
and shorts are really important these days.
Yes, and I do one a day, and I publish it pretty much everywhere. So I publish one piece of content, but I repurpose it. I think repurposing is the most important thing that you can do as a content creator, and you don't have to create 20 different pieces of content. Create 5 and put it in 20 places, and you're good.
There you go.
That's pretty much my ratio of work that I do. And I would say that for someone who's trying to go full-time, you need to set a routine to work on your videos on a daily basis, even if it's a small part, even if it's a paragraph of your script, or even if it's recording a little bit of gameplay, you need to do something. And I think that short form is necessary, if not mandatory.
Yeah, nobody's got attention spans anymore. Long form content is definitely you're old if you like long term format. I think is the thing.
Yeah. I would only be contrary to what you just said, Russ, because there's been enough evidence that people actually do like long form more than you might expect.
Yeah, it just the short form also is very I don't know, bite-sized stuff, right? But
I'll be
yeah, I
honest,
mean,
I don't watch shorts. I don't like shorts. I don't watch shorts. I make them because people like them, but I can't watch them.
I only watch shorts of woodworking stuff because my side stuff is woodworking. I really like this stuff, and so watching a little short on like this technique or that is useful. But ultimately, yeah, I avoid shorts as well.
yeah.
We're
the
old,
biggest,
so.
yeah, we are. We're old. We're old.
Ignore my grays, okay?
That's why I cut all mine down, dude. You gotta get it.
That's why I dye my hair.
Bro, I'm old enough to where I can't cut my grays down, okay? They're
Then you
still
just need to
there
get
when
rid
I
of the beard.
yeah.
Shave the head. Get it all gone.
I'm not that old yet.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the thing about like, well, because you're a woman, you get a lot more of that. It's really fucked up because it's true. And like, I don't want to go off on too much of a side tangent, but like, my daughter has a lot of medical illnesses, and for a long time, my wife and I tried to like, just appointment after appointment after appointment, try and figure out what's going on. And we try to be equal parents, right? Like, that's the job. You're a parent. That child is your responsibility as well as your wife's or your husband's or whatever. Like, you're a parent as well. And I would have customers that I'm like, yeah, man, I got to get out of here kind of early today. So-and-so, I got to take my take my daughter to this doctor appointment. And it's very, not concerning, but disheartening to see how many people my age and older are like, well, why doesn't your wife do that? And I'm just like, cause I'm a parent too.
Yeah.
it's my, like, there's been so many times that if I wasn't on the clock, I'd be like, I've wanted to do this so many times to just make it as awkward as possible for them. If I wasn't on the clock, I'd look at them and be like, oh, cause she's dead. And just really just I want to make it as awkward as possible for those people, because I hate that shit, dude. Like, we're parents too.
Yeah,
You
and
want to feel valued.
Yeah, like if it's okay for us to sit there and stream on a Saturday while our wife takes care of our daughter, like literally mine is doing right now. She's out with the daughter, running errands, having a good time. If it's okay for me to do this, it needs to be okay for you, for my wife, for any woman. So it's
today's society doesn't allow for the mother to sit at home and be, a single, or not a single parent, but a stay-at-home mom. We both have to work at this point, unless you are in a special situation. Being the man or the woman doesn't matter, but unless you're in a special situation where you make tons of freaking money, you both got to work. And so therefore, just because you're working doesn't mean the other spouse is doing nothing, and doing nothing, not doing nothing, but just taking care of the kid. You know what I mean?
Right, which is a job in itself.
Yes, 100%.
But
100%.
Yeah,
I think it's intrusive. I don't think we owe anyone information on what our spouse is doing or how we divide our time with our children. And I think that it is one of the boundaries that is heavily disrespected nowadays, especially within content creators, because the audience has the power over you, and if they expect certain information out of you or want you to be a certain way, they can just not watch you, and ultimately they are the boss of you. YouTube's not your boss. Your audience is your boss, and whenever you say something, you say that in front of your boss, and if your boss doesn't like it, your boss will just not get you paid. They might not pay you directly, but they're not going to watch your videos, and
makes sense. And society as a whole, even though we've accepted content creators, if you're a content creator, you're effectively useless. Like, your job isn't needed. People can easily discard you, even though effectively you're integral to society as a whole. It's looked at effectively. It's that double standard. Like, people need you.
People have learned that during COVID, I think.
Yeah,
when they realized how much they rely on entertainment, when they realized how much Netflix or whatever they watch to not go crazy. It's like, I think that there's a newfound respect for content creators and for artists, because people have realized that that is their lifeline. Some people go back to everything, some people go back to nothing. You never know who you're talking to in the chat, and you just have to treat everyone with the same respect and just make sure that you treat them as if your stream is their everything, which sounds parasocial, but you just, that is just...
Everyone has intrinsic value, and they deserve to be respected. It's that simple. Pretty much.
Exactly.
So we are getting to about our hour mark on this podcast. I think we're going to wrap it up here in just a bit and head over to our Patreon side. V, if you'd like to join us over there, you're more than welcome to. I know it's late for you, so if you want to cut out at the end of this stream, you're more than welcome to. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
Before
thank
we
you.
go, we want to hit a couple of quick fire news. Luckily, Mike isn't here to make it slow news again. Tim, let's start this
Inside
off.
topic.
The Embracer CEO V, I don't know how much you know about the Embracer Group. They bought a ton of video game publishers and developers,
In the
have
past
canceled
couple
a ton of
years,
games.
yeah.
The CEO actually has recently come out and made a statement that makes him surprisingly self-aware. He actually said in a interview that he deserves all the criticism that he's gotten. So he knows that the world kind of hates him, which is really impressive because that tells me that this man might actually have a head on his shoulders and might, fix something. Maybe not, but he's aware that he's fucking up. So maybe we'll see something.
And ultimately, he split the company into 3 different groups, which hopefully will allow for more oversight in the sense of oversight that's not just his own, and maybe they can make better decisions in the long run for the companies that they still own.
So here's
when it
hoping
comes to me, I'm a little cynical. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
As much as I do understand that it is nice to hear something like that, I personally, I guess thinking from the perspective of those people who have maybe lost their jobs because of this, I don't see what the value is. Yeah, I don't see what the value is of him getting the criticisms. I know that this is going to sound dramatic, but if you lose a dear friend or a family member or something like that to like a murder or something like that, yes, it's kind of I guess you kind of can feel better about the person being apprehended, but at the same time, that doesn't make it better. I don't see how him receiving this criticism is making it better for the people who are still in deep,
Yeah, no,
But
I 100%
you have to
agree, but it's a
You have to give him a little bit, you have to give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt. If he's willing to admit that, hey, I've messed up, at the very least, that's the start of fixing it, right? So hopefully that's going to be the case.
Does he have the capacity or even any resources to make it better? That's
History says no. So I get your cynicism.
and I totally understand your cynicism. My brother works at Bungie. And so last Christmas was a very, very tense time.
Difficult time.
And so, I get it 100%. What's going on in the industry, we've talked about it multiple times. It's not great. It's not great.
Yep.
And you are right to be kind of cynical about it. Generally, I am too. This is just one instance where somebody who is kind of responsible for, at this point, I think almost 2,000 layoffs. Yeah, 1,400 employees.
Those are the people who give me a job.
Yes,
I recommend them until the day I die.
Right.
So.
And as you should.
I think that's why me and Russ work together so well. He's more of a pessimist. I'm more of an optimist. And we're able to butt heads enough, So
but yeah, I mean, it could be just him saving face, looking at it from a realistic side. It very well could. But I have hope that this is him going, we can do better. Yeah, we'll see.
We will.
I doubt it, but we can hope. Media Molecule, the guys who made Little Big Planet, as well as, is it Dreams?
Yep.
Yes, they announced that their next game will be a new IP, so they won't be going back to Little Big Planet, and it won't be Dream 2. So that's interesting.
Hope to see it be a continued expansion upon what they've been doing, because what they've been doing is awesome.
Yep. And then Tim, I think you got the final 2 here with the one of Stellar Blade and Fallout.
Okay, so I'm going to say Fallout first because it's, Fallout is easy to make quick. Basically, it has finally gotten its next-gen update, as they're calling it. And V, you might have thoughts, you might not, because it's kind of out of your realm, but it's RPG. Anyways, Bethesda's a big developer, and I was really hoping that they would do more with this, but it effectively seems to be nothing really more than a performance update. There's some minor graphical updates, but really it's just 60 FPS at 4K resolution, which is a little unfortunate given Bethesda has tons of money and ability, right?
Funnily enough, when it comes to Fallout, I have never actually played it single-handedly. I have passively played through it, as during my very active days of Hearthstone, my ex-husband was playing through Fallout, and I got to see the entire story by just sitting next to him and participating in the multiple choices. So I know of the campaign, but I never actually experienced the gameplay.
Was it Fallout 4?
No, I don't think it was. I think it was 3 or something like that. Like I'm
3 or New Vegas or whatever. Yeah. Well, 4 is really not worth it anyway. It's probably the worst of all of them.
No. Honestly, I think that it might just be for the better, because I don't know. I think we are around the same age where we at some point were fans maybe of Linkin Park. So I'm gonna use that as an example.
Yes.
do you know how Linkin Park was amazing, and then they started going really commercial, and nobody liked them? Sometimes I'm a fan of anything that's being produced just staying in the history, because I feel like sometimes new updates can do more damage to an existing franchise than the actual benefit. So
That's
in my
fair.
opinion, it's great that it performs better, that it's going to, make it easier for people to play it, but I don't know if it's a good decision to make a new game from the franchise that's so beloved by many, from the time when games didn't suffer from so many things, like having to consider, don't get me wrong, like I'm not against inclusivity or anything of the sort, but I think that there are a lot of modern issues and things that would have to be considered for a game that wouldn't be received well by the Fallout audience.
The initial
that was way
audience,
back then. Yes, I do not think they would like that. So I think that from that perspective, I think that it's great that it's introduced in games, in movies, and whatnot. But I think that the publishers should stay respectful of their initial player base and know when something just belongs in the history.
A good like kind of general encapsulation of that is I'm a big comic guy, right? So like there was a lot of talk about making Peter Parker gay for Spider-Man, making Spider-Man gay, and it's like, no, leave the character as he is, make a new
That's
one.
not necessary.
There are plenty of other, like, be original, create a new Spider-Man. We got Miles Morales. He's an African-American Spider-Man. He's awesome. He's a fantastic character because he's original. He's his own story. If you want to do things like that and be inclusive, give them agency in that they are their own character, not riding off the coattails of something that's been established
I'm a
for
huge
60
fan
years.
of new content. Yes.
Yeah,
you don't need to
Not
change what's
existing
there.
Twisted franchises. Yes, absolutely.
Speaking of changing what's there, that leads us to, I think, our last quick fire topic. Tim, why don't you tell us what the internet's on fire about right now, and we can talk about how dumb it is.
So my thought process on this whole situation is not, at least seemingly in any case, is not the consensus. Don't get me wrong. I don't agree with censorship. Ultimately, I think the creator's vision should be what's released. And for what it's worth, the developer is saying that is the case, although a lot of people don't necessarily believe the creator. But Stellar Blade, actually, so the reason why I think this is such a big freaking fuss is that, like, 4 or 5 days ago, they basically stated that Stellar Blade is going to be uncensored across the world. It doesn't matter where it's releasing, it's going to be uncensored. End of story. Period. Dot. Well, yesterday, the day before yesterday, it started to be sort of leaked because the game wasn't available yet until yesterday. So yeah, it was the day before yesterday. It started to be leaked that they actually are kind of censoring some outfits in the game. The game has...
minusculely.
It is minuscule. We're talking literally one of the suits is a bunny suit, and we're talking like super like high-rise...
It's like a bathing suit. Like
it's a one piece bathing suit. Yeah. It's really high rise and goes over her hips. Well, they increased the amount of fabric over her hips by like 2 inches or something like that, and people are up in arms about it. And then there's another suit where it covers a little bit of her cleavage and like minuscule stuff. And the reason why I say it's minuscule is when you consider the other outfits. There's like something like 40 outfits in the game. Other outfits are way more revealing, and so the fact that people are throwing a fit over these couple of small things just seems like... Seriously, we're arguing about this.
I'm actually surprised that it's not more.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially the laws in Asia and China in particular, how they censored or used to censor World of Warcraft, for example, when that was a thing, and how they censor comic books and mangas and everything. I'm actually surprised that it's not more.
Yes.
To me, sounds like a formality and like a good, halfway happy compromise for pretty much everyone. So from the law standpoint, I'm surprised that it's not more. But at the same time, I'm a huge fan of artwork being released as it is. I personally am not a fan of censorship because the adults here, I believe, are the same as the adults in China and pretty much everywhere else. And I understand the cultural differences, but at the same time, I think I have the right to disagree with the degree of different kinds of censorships in games, because games are basically art. And I feel that art should be allowed to be expressed in sort of way.
It should not be censored.
The consumer of the art to decide if it's bad or good.
Yes, let the free market decide if it's worth it.
The issue I have with it is how loud people are being about it. Like, this is not a big change. Ultimately, like, it's not like they took the suit and completely got rid of it or altered it in a major fashion. I don't even think in terms of copyright infringement, this is passing the 30% mark of being uniquely different. Like, that's how little of an alteration of the original image we're talking about here. And people are losing their minds over it when, again,
people are
like
canceling their PlayStation Plus subscriptions in droves.
There's at least 24 different suits, including this one, in the game. A majority of which far more skimpy. So, like, if the developer decided that this suit needed to be altered so that it could release somewhere, whatever the story is, because they're not going to tell us, they're not going to say that.
They probably have no
there's
idea
probably
how much they fought to not have everything.
There's so much behind the curtains, just from what I have learned from my brother working at Destiny that I'm not allowed to talk about. There's so much that goes on behind the curtain of what we know of video game development that, like, this probably changed because some government somewhere, likely China or maybe another country, said this is not okay. All of these ones are fine, but this one, for whatever reason, because we know how legislation works, it's the same in every country. It's really vague and then really exact. It makes no sense. So it's probably something that simple. And rather than the developers having to put out a PR statement explaining this to people, wasting their time and their effort and their money and their energy, they just made the change, and now people are losing their minds about it. I don't personally see this as censorship. I can understand how people could skew it that direction. It's just a model update, in my opinion.
I feel like what people in the West are largely ignorant of is how different attraction is in other countries, like maybe Middle East, like
especially the Middle East,
Japan, and whatnot. I think that people are forgetting how many people in other countries find some other parts of the body extremely sexual, like knees, like ankles, even like the differences between how people's faces are, whether they have like straight teeth or narrow teeth or not straight teeth or whatever. I think that there are things that are problematic with different outfits that are not problematic in the West at all, and vice versa. And if something is reversed, there's probably a good reason for it. Maybe the hip bone is an extremely controversial topic in an Eastern country, whereas they don't care about, I don't know, the cleavage or something like that. Like, people need to educate themselves on the cultural differences and what actually can be shown on a body before making judgments like that.
Me and Russ understand that pretty well, given we're prior military, and one of the pieces of training that we get if we ever deploy to a different country is about the cultural differences. And so a lot of America don't get any sort of training in that regard. And so I think you have a really good opinion on that regard.
It's especially in the West, ignorance is a big thing. People confirmation bias is a big thing. I'm ignorant. I know it. There's plenty of things I'm ignorant about. I'm aware of those, and I try to correct them.
There's a difference between ignorant and uneducated.
Yes.
If you are already aware of it, that means that you're not ignorant, that you might just not know everything that you want to know. But there's a difference between that and someone just deliberately.
Well, effectively, ignorance does mean uneducated, right? It's not a negative term. It just means you don't know.
There's a difference between ignorance and willfully ignorant, right?
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yes.
We're there. But so I think that's going to be it for our quick fire news for our free side. V, one of our patrons is requesting you join us over on Patreon. If you're up to it, I would like to extend your invite there as well, and we'll continue talking over there. Everyone over here on the free side, thank you so much for joining us for almost an entire year's worth of episodes. Very happy to have our first ever guest on the show, and I look forward to talking to you guys all next week. And Tim, I think you have one quick final message before we head off to our Patreon side.
I've got to. V, thank you for joining us, and my apologies for saying this. Tell your mom I said hi.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next time.